Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Welcome to another PMP Q&A session. Our today's topic is manage project issues. And this is again one of the topics in processes domain. So let me just share my screen and then we will start. All right, so let's start. Question number 1. All right. Felicity, could you please explain your answers? So one clarity, in real exam, you would be having statements like this. So it would be clearly mentioned at the end of the statement like this, for example, select 2, right? So rather than this, which 2 of the following, although it is clear, but in the exam, you will be having select 2. And if you select 1, you won't be able to proceed to the next question. So it would be clearly mentioned. All right. Felicity, you have chosen E and E. Could you please explain?
I don't know how much explanation there is. I guess it was kind of, they made sense and then I eliminated the other ones. So in B, if completed work is increasing, that's a good thing. That's not a bottleneck. I guess I'm rereading C, if all areas, including work in progress, expand uniformly over a period of time. That could indicate a bottleneck too, actually. So I'm sort of thinking about C a little bit more. D, if the initial stage of the workflow shows a rapid decline, that again is a good thing. It's the opposite of B. We're finishing our work. E, if there's a widening in the middle stages, including a buildup of tasks. I mean, it's basically the definition of a bottleneck is that there's a buildup of tasks. And then, yeah, so I answered with A, but I guess it could be C as well.
All right. Thank you. Priya, you have chosen A and
Yes. I was pretty sure about E because the widening in the middle stages of the diagram, including a buildup of tasks, that's not what you want to see in a CFD for a smooth project. So I was pretty sure about that. A sounds very easy to pick as an easy pick, but I'm not 100% sure. But it definitely talks about, there's more work that's happening. You don't want to see, you don't want to have too much work in progress at any point of any project. So that kind of like seemed to be more accurate. So I chose A and E.
And what do you think about C?
The initial stage of the workload shows a rapid decline in work items. I think you cannot judge a project by the initial stages. Maybe it's too early to judge. So obviously, when the team's kind of storming or they're still trying to figure things out, you could see a decline in performance. So I wouldn't think that would be a bottleneck yet.
But Priya, I'm asking about C.
Work in, if all areas, including work in progress, expand uniformly over a period of time. I would say that's a good sign. That's a positive sign because it's expanding uniformly over a period of time. So it seemed like it was a smooth curve. At least it's not, there's no bumps
All
or,
right, correct.
yeah.
So absolutely correct. A and E is the right answer. C is neither a good thing nor a bad thing. So what's happening in C? If all the areas are expanding uniformly, it means more work is being pulled into the work in progress, right? So maybe you have increased the number of resources, right? So it's not the buildup of task at any particular column, right? So it's a neutral thing. Maybe you have added more resources, or you have increased the pace of work, or your productivity has gone up, or maybe you're learning. It's a learning curve. Initially, it was narrow. With the passage of time, it's expanding and expanding uniformly. So it's neither a good thing nor a bad thing. It's a neutral thing. So correct answer is A and E. In a cumulative flow diagram, if work in progress starts expanding, right, and other columns are consistent, so it's a bad thing. It means it's a buildup of work. So A and E are almost similar thing, just written in a different way. Correct answer is A and E. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. Mohan, you have chosen option B.
Right. I picked risk mitigation because the question is saying the project manager is taking preventative action in anticipation of an issue that could potentially impact the project schedule, right? So to me that is risk. Um, so I think that's where I kind of picked it. That's why I picked it as risk mitigation because the issue is something that has already occurred.
Mhm.
So then this is a definition of risk mitigation.
All right, thank you. Alan, you want to say something?
Yeah, I choose C, as Mohan mentioned. This is something that it doesn't occur yet.
Mhm.
So this is a risk. So we are planning before it could happen. So that is why I choose in risk planning. He's making kind of plans or actions to prevent the situation
Mhm.
and avoid the problem.
All right, thank you. Richard, how would you respond to Alan's comment?
I would say that risk planning happens as you're identifying risk and planning out early, whereas in anticipation of an issue, we're taking action. So we're actually doing something rather than just writing it out and creating a plan. So I eliminated A and D because this isn't an issue yet. We're taking preventative action, so we're being proactive because we see that a risk that we planned for may actually happen. So we're going to try to mitigate that risk as early as possible.
So what made you think like we are taking an action? What's written in the statement that says we are taking action?
It's just a project manager takes preventative action.
Yeah, correct. So it's clearly written a project manager takes preventive action. So action is being taken, right? So it's after planning. Alan, is it clear? So we're not just planning for the risk, we're taking an action.
Yeah.
So if you're taking an action for a risk, That is called risk mitigation, right? I hope it is clear. Correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right. All right. So almost similar to what you all have mentioned. Next question. All right. Daniela, you have chosen option A.
Yes, so the client is already aware because that has been discussed with the stakeholders. So the client must know about what's happening and already has agreed that we need to alter the design. Therefore, we need to submit a change request and obtain formal approval. So it's not B because the client already knows. You can't just go and upgrade. It's not C. You can't just go and upgrade specifications without a formal process of changing and develop a prototype. It may be, it's a nice to have, but definitely it's not the first thing that you have to do.
All right. Thank you. Mohan, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about this, and I think I chose D because I thought that, confirming that the design works, the effectiveness of the design via developing a prototype would be the best option before, doing any sort of a change request to change the formal design process. Yeah.
All right. But Mohan, to develop prototype, do you need some time, some resources? Do you need to change your baselines or no?
Right, right.
So even if you need to develop this, you need some sort of resources, you need some sort of approval. Anything that you're doing outside of the baseline, you required a change request, right? You need to follow the procedure, as Daniela mentioned. So you're right, it would work, but for that you need to have some resources, and for that you need approval. Okay, good. Let's take one more comment. Felicity, you have chosen option C.
Yes, I wrote off D because I didn't feel like it was really an appropriate response because it sounds like everyone's already on the same page that this is the way that we should move forward. I think what's confused me a little is A and B are kind of more of a standard project methodology, and C is more agile. And there's nothing in the question to indicate for sure one way or the other. But I feel that it's software, so I thought it must be agile. And then the question about notifying the client, I mean, because in change request pieces, I just felt were not agile. But the whole notifying the client thing, there's nothing in the question that indicates that there is a particular client. It might just be a company that's producing a new software app. I mean, they have their own quality assurance team, etc. So I didn't feel like B was particularly great. And then yes, it was kind of between A and C, but I figured because it's software, it must be agile. So they must be okay to just go ahead and implement changes.
All right, great. So if you all recall, we talked about in the change management section, even the agile teams and projects, they do have change management procedure, right? If you recall, we talked about that. There was a question. So even if you're working in an agile environment, they do have change control board as well. It depends on the organization, and it varies from organization to organization, right? So for example, some changes would be processed through a change control board, some would go directly to the product owner. And also, this is a tip for all of you in the exam. If it is not clearly written, like if it is agile methodology or waterfall methodology, try to take it as hybrid methodology, treat it as like that. Even if it is a software project, if yes, you're right, most of the time it would be and it should be agile. But even if it is agile, you would be following the procedure, right? Not directly update the design specification and instruct the software team to implement the changes, right? We follow the process. The problem with option A is that it's written submit a change request and obtain formal approval from the project sponsor. We don't seek approval from the sponsor for the change request. Approval for the change request comes from the change control board, right? So CCB is authorized to sponsor all the changes, not the project sponsor. Although sponsor is part of the CCB, but CCB has the ultimate authority to process all the changes. Correct answer is option B, notify the client about the issue and initiate the change request process. So you're going to change the design. In order to change the design, you need to follow the process. Option A seems correct, but the only problem is that we don't seek approval from the sponsor. We seek approval from CCB. Correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Richard, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, so as I read through this, identify a potential schedule delay. So it's potential due to unexpected resource availability issues. So with that, I felt that I kind of ruled out B. And I don't know, I was okay with A, I was okay with C, and I was okay with D. And then tried to analyze it. Well, it's always all these questions, always ask for the best out of questions that are all correct. So I got to figure out which way, how to figure it out. But I think the first thing, the most appropriate initial action, and that's what this screws me up, is what is the first step to take? I went on C because I know it's PMIism is to always analyze what we're going to do first. Is to, because since this is potential, nothing is certain. So if we don't know what is certain, what are we going to document, and what are we going to put in the risk registry? So I want to analyze the impact of the schedule first.
Thank you. Mohan, you have chosen option D. Don't change it, okay? Because of Richard. Stick to it.
We're not in the same location today. Yeah, so I chose option D because again, this question says, right, the PM identifies a quote unquote potential schedule delay. So I think the most appropriate initial action would be that this is a risk, and you update the risk register. And then after that, once you have updated the risk register from that, you can then understand do the assessment of the risk and understand the impact and develop risk mitigation strategies.
All right, correct. Option D is correct. So whenever there is an issue or risk, the very first thing is documentation, right? So if you recall the steps that we discussed in risk section, so first was, if you recall, that was risk identification. Once we do identification where we document the risk in risk register, analysis comes later. So next step is analysis, where we perform qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. So what would be the impact, qualitative or quantitative? That would be done later. So first is identification. And what is identification? Adding the risk in risk register, right? So correct answer is option D. Let's read the explanation. Update the risk register to reflect new information. Felicity, you have a
Excuse me, why
comment?
it's not option A?
Felicity, sorry, Mary, I'll come to you. Felicity, you have a comment? You're on mute.
Yeah, I kind of followed Richard's reasoning too about when you go to update the risk register, like what are you putting in there? And even with the explanation you just gave about identifying and then analyzing, I'm seeing the word unexpected now. So I guess, yeah, it does need to be added to the register then, because I think that's the part that I was missing. I'm like, it sounds like it was already on the register, but now you're updating it. But what are you updating it with? You don't have any clear information yet.
Yeah, so you have information about a potential problem or potential uncertainty. So you will be adding in the risk register, and then you will be doing the analysis. And then you will keep on adding more information, impact, or whatever the information is available. So first you put it in the risk register, and then you perform the analysis. Same is the case with issues. Whenever there is an issue, you put it in the issue log, and then you do the analysis or workaround or whatever, how you would be handling that. So first is identification, then next step is analysis. Mary, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. I was just interested why it's not option A.
Okay, good. So first it's a risk. So we won't be documenting the issue. It's a risk, it's not an issue. And second, it says document the issue and continue monitoring the situation. No, we document and we do the analysis, right? So we don't just monitor. So there is no point of documentation, okay? So documentation part is correct, but there are two problems in the option A. One, it says it's issue. Second, it says continue monitoring. We document and do the analysis. All right, next question. All right. So you will see such questions as well in the exam. Very simple, straight, short, but I can see all options, right? I thought this would be the most, the easiest question, right? But okay, let's talk about it. Okay, Robin, you have chosen option D. This is not the easiest, okay? So just answer naturally. Go ahead.
Yes, I think maybe I was a bit hasty there.
You can change your answer, okay? You can change.
Okay. Okay, I think I should have gone for A,
Okay.
issue log, because it is an issue that isn't maybe necessarily a risk. So it needs to be recorded. Well, it was recorded, but then the customer is concerned about when it's going to be resolved. So we need to look at the issue log.
Okay, right. Thank you. Priya, you have chosen option C.
Yes, I thought that the other documents were somewhat specific to the team or a subset of the team. But if you're communicating with the customer, it's always good to be upfront about your risks and other information related to it in your progress report. So that's why I chose progress report.
All right, but Priya, the statement doesn't say what you would be presenting to the customer. So we're not presenting here. Which document should the PM consider to respond to customer? So for example, if customer has a query and we want to respond to the customer, so which document would provide us with that information? So progress report, yes. And normally progress report is on specific intervals, right? It has frequency like monthly. So if somebody asks you for an update, you won't say, okay, I'll be sending you report next month or by the end of week or bi-weekly. So if
Yeah.
somebody is asking for update, you need to provide that right away. You'll say, okay, I'll look into it and I'll give you the information. So there's an issue and customer is concerned when this issue would be resolved. So you need to respond to that. So which document is helpful to you to get this information? This is the question. You're right, we provide progress report to the customer, but question is not about progress report. Question is about customer has a query and you need to respond. So which document is helpful to you to get that particular piece of information? Okay.
Yep.
Manmeet, you have chosen option A.
Yes, the answer seems pretty straightforward to me.
Mhm.
B, C, D, I eliminated because project schedule means it's all only contains a schedule of the overall project.
All right.
Progress report means the document that contains the overall progress of the project towards the project objectives, and risk report obviously overall risk within the project that happened. So issue log only contains those list of issues that are ongoing or which are complete or about to complete. So that's why I picked A, because customer is concerned when the issue will be resolved. So project manager has to look into the issue log.
All right, correct. So right answer is option A, issue log. And in issue log, we document what is the issue, when it is logged, who is the issue owner, what is the due date, when this issue would be resolved, and what's the status of the issue. Is it open, close, or what? Correct answer is option A. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. Please select A. All right. Priya, you have chosen option C.
Yes. This talks about a particular member in the team raising concerns about missed deadlines. And the project manager suspects that this could be due to unclear requirements. So when you suspect something, you obviously have to do some detective work to figure out what the root cause is. So I thought that would be a better approach to figure out first what the reason could be and then come up with, obviously A is not an option. B is not an option.
And what if I tell you A is the right answer? Would you reconsider?
No, I would not reconsider. It's against PMI.
Or $100?
Yes, $100. Yes, I'm
Okay.
up for. Yeah.
Right, right. Thank you.
Option A is reality, sorry.
Yes, that is reality. Good. Thank you, Priya. Manmeet, you have chosen option B.
The only reason I thought of picking B is we have we suspected, like as a project manager, I suspected there's unclear requirements. That's why deliverables were missed. So the first thing I will do is resolve why we missed the deliverables. So I will definitely hold up a meeting. I schedule a meeting with the client to discuss the revised deadlines so that a client should not be into into the delusion that what is happening with the project. So that's why I picked B. It comes up with the better solution according to the question.
All right. So you're saying document the issue and schedule a meeting with the client to discuss revised deadlines.
Yeah.
So,
A and D is definitely not an option. So
Manmeet,
C.
from where
So,
you got revised deadlines?
um,
Who has
um,
provided you with revised deadlines? Or just, random discussion?
obviously I'll have to, because I'm in the middle of the team meeting. So if I know that we have missed the deliverables, we must have some timeline for the deliverables. Just like maybe last week they have to be delivered and it's already next week. So based on the previous estimation, I like to hold up a meeting with the client to
That
say that.
estimation.
Oh, okay, yeah, no estimations.
All right. So
Sorry.
question doesn't talk about any sort of analysis. Whenever there is a problem, the first thing is you document that and you do the analysis, right? So there is a problem here. There are delays due to unclear requirements. So you need to understand what are the root causes of the problem. So once you understand the root cause of the problem, only then you can commit something like what would be the future, what would be the revised deadline, right? So correct answer is option C, right? Hold a team meeting to discuss the root cause of the missed deadline. And I think if you recall, we talked about that. So first you do the analysis. So we have been continuously discussing this. So come up with the analysis. Based on that, take the action. Based on that, have discussion with the client to discuss revised deadlines. All right. Correct answer is option B. Let's read the, sorry, correct answer is option C. All right. Next question. All right. Alan, you have chosen option D.
I think that is not correct, but yeah, I eliminate the other ones because C, for example, is requesting to the customer to wait till the final product. So in this case, we need to continue feedback, and this is one of the points. Customers telling us that it's not satisfying. So appoint an issue owner and conduct a team meeting to analyze situation before meeting the customer. Customer is already tells that he doesn't agree with the quality and document the issue. I think that this should be the first one. No, but we don't know exactly. Sorry, we don't know exactly what is the problem. So A also for me is eliminated. And schedule a meeting with the customer to understand the specific concern. We need to know why the customer is worried about it, and then we can document it, and then we can appoint the issue owner. So for me, will be first D, then A, and then B.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Manmeet, you have chosen
Amber.
B. Thank you, Alan. Manmeet, you have chosen option B. Always wrong.
Sorry. The only reason I thought I was super confused with with A and B actually. Um, C and D, obviously, I don't want to do that. I think it's not an issue actually. He just expresses the dissatisfaction. Okay, I'm gonna give my theory. I'm not a person who changes my answer. But I thought that okay, so the customer is dissatisfied with the product quality. Uh, I will have a team meeting to analyze the situation before meeting the customer. Just like you were actually taught me the last question that we have to have a root cause, right? Before going to the client, we need to do our homework.
Yeah, you
So
have to
that's
do the
why,
homework first.
yeah, that's why I picked B based on that.
Correct. Robin, do you agree with Manmeet?
Not really.
So sad. Okay.
What I considered is that the customer has expressed dissatisfaction, but we don't really know what his specific concerns are. So we need to initiate analyzing the problem by understanding his specific concerns, and that would be to schedule a meeting with him.
All right. So again, you're saying we don't know the concerns. So first we need to understand their concerns, and then we can build on that and we can do the analysis.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
All right. But correct answer is option C.
No way.
No way. All right. Just kidding. Yes. Correct answer is option D. We will be scheduling a meeting with the customer to understand their concerns. So customer has just expressed dissatisfaction. So just based on this, what sort of analysis, what sort of homework we will be doing? We don't have idea which particular aspect of the product is not in line with the acceptance criteria or the quality requirement. So first of all, we need to understand that. Once we understand the concerns, then we can build on that and we can do internal analysis and come up with alternatives or whatever we want to do. Correct answer is option D. Let's read the explanation. So initial focus should be on open communication and understanding the customer's perspective, right? So schedule a meeting and try to understand their concerns. Next question. All right, Felicity, you have chosen option B.
Yes, because I scratched off A because it looks like you're escalating it immediately and you're not really sure what you're escalating at even at this point. I scratched off D because I didn't feel like it was applicable. It doesn't really say anything about working with vendors, so I didn't see how that would help, I guess. C, I actually was floating on C for a second there because I thought, I mean, sometimes what can you do but just keep going, document and keep going. But then I read B a little bit closer and I thought ideally you would want to stay within your budget. I think the only thing that I hesitate about with B is that question of reducing functionality because you would have to I assume you would have to check that with the client, but anyway, I ended up landing on B.
All right. Thank you. Daniela, you want to say something?
Initially, when I read this, I really didn't know what to answer. However, I would choose option A, even if it means to reach further. Because I don't know if I can reduce the project scope at present to reduce functionality. I don't know if this is applicable. I would assume it's not. Of course, after analysis, maybe it would work, but definitely not the first step.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, D, I don't believe it is. Yes, for the same reason which was mentioned, that we don't know if we deal with vendors. Then document the cost overrun and continue with current scope. That's not a solution, really. So I don't know. To me, A, it's the most logical.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Priya, how would you respond to Daniela's comment? Do you agree with Daniela?
I actually chose that as the option, informing the project sponsor. But I'm conflicted between A and C. The possibility of just documenting an overrun in the project management plan is you're not escalating, but you're being transparent and you're still communicating the issue. You're not hiding anything. But it may not be visible as informing the project sponsor directly. So the second half of that, informing the project sponsor, is something I liked, but raising a change request for additional funding, that is something that I didn't like, the second half of that, the first answer, because it depends on what the project sponsors want to do. They might want you to reduce scope. Who are you to decide that we need additional funding, right? So the only concern I had was, so I'm leaning towards C now, even though I feel like it might not be as transparent as informing the project sponsor. So I'm conflicted between A and C, but I did choose A.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. So you don't agree or you're not happy with this part, right? We should not raise a change request.
Right.
All right. Who would like to comment or respond to Priya's comment? Anyone? Mohan?
I picked A. I mean, I think that's the best option because it's saying that the team is encountering unexpected technical issues and require additional resources, which might to additional funding. B is you don't modify scope. That's not what you do, right? To reduce functionality, so eliminated that. Documenting the cost overrun, project management, continue with the project scope. But with the current scope, really is not doing any action, right, to mitigate the issue. And D, negotiate with vendors to see if they can offer discount. That's not either. So I thought A was the best option.
All right. But Priya says we don't raise a change request. It's the sponsor's call. How would you respond to her comment?
Well, I mean, it would be you initiate the change request, right? Ultimately, maybe up to the change control board, etc., and the stakeholders to decide if the funding is approved or not. So based on that, but the initial option should be that here's an issue where you need additional funding, and I'm going to initiate a change request to get the extra money.
Absolutely correct. So we are not making any decision here. We're just raising a change request. It's the change control board in presence of sponsor, they would be ultimately the decision maker. So question clearly says during the development phase, the project team encounters unexpected technical challenges that require additional resources. So it's clearly written, there are challenges, and in order to respond to those challenges, you need additional resources. So when you need additional resources, the only way is raise a change request and request for resources. So we don't modify the scope to reduce functionalities. We don't do that. Again, if you want to do that, the best way is to raise a change request, even if you want to do that. Even if B is the only way, you will be raising a change request. You won't be directly modifying the scope to reduce functionality. Document the cost overrun in the project management plan and continue with current scope means doing nothing. If you are not responding to those unexpected technical challenges and just documenting, means you're not taking any action. If you see such option in the exam, review it again, because not taking action is not the right option most of the time. And negotiate vendor. Vendor has nothing to do with that. Correct answer is option A. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Felicity, you have chosen option C.
Yes. So A is not a great response. Similarly, D is kind of overcompensating for the problem. So it's definitely between B and C, but I don't know, I was having a hard time with this one, because I mean, I feel like there's elements of correctness across both. I think you do need to adjust the project schedule, but you also need to redistribute the scheduled tasks better. Obviously, they were not well allotted in the first place. But in terms of what actually should come, like what's the next step on this? I don't know. I landed on C to say to redistribute the tasks.
All right, thank you. Richard, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, so with like Felicity, I was just between B and C.
I'm
Kind
also
of landed
between
on
B and C.
I landed on B just because it says we're consistently delayed. So I don't, without adding work hours or crashing or doing anything like that, we're behind. We're already behind. So we have to adjust the project schedule, and I figured to notify the sponsor that there's a potential delay. It's not a definite delay because you could possibly crash. You could talk to your team, but it's already a problem. You are addressing the problem, which is adjusting the project schedule. And as transparency, you're making the project sponsor aware of a potential delay.
All right. Why you haven't chosen option C? What's wrong with option C?
So I don't know, maybe I read into this a little bit too much, but it's a global software development project, right? So I imagine like different teams have different, I know we're supposed to be cross-functioning teams, but still you might have developers in one spot, you might have artists in another spot, you might have engineers in another spot. Just redistributing the workload, they might not be able to handle that like an engineer might not be able to handle a design or an art asset. So I do not think that just blanketing, just redistributing workloads just going to solve the problem, because they might not be able to, that team that's in that different part of the globe might not be able to handle the assignment that's being delayed.
Right. They were not, or they will not be able to handle because of the workload or because of the expertise. Why?
I was thinking expertise,
Expertise.
not necessarily the workload. It's just like different, the expertise, the expertise. I'll just say expertise.
All right. So what's happening in this situation? You have different teams in different countries, and on some location, what's happening, your project calendar or the work schedule coincides with public holidays, right? Across different phases. So further investigation reveals that critical development tasks coincide with public holidays in several of the team's location. Now, option C says like whatever the work is planned on public holidays, you would be redistributing that work across all the offices or across various offices. So if the problem is in some offices, we should target those offices only. We should not distribute the work across various offices, right? So redistribution would not help here. So what we will be doing it, we made a mistake. So we will be adjusting the schedule to include the holidays, and whatever the outcome would be, those work would be done on working days and there would be potential delays. So we will be adjusting the project schedule to include the holidays and notify the project sponsor of the potential delays. Redistributing work across other locations would not help. Correct answer is option B. Mohan, you want to say something?
Yeah, I chose C. I mean, again, I know you mentioned that you shouldn't be assuming stuff, right? But I assumed here this is a software development project, and you could redistribute work and give work from non-vacation, whatever, non-holidays to the offices which don't have any holidays and level the resources, right? So, I mean, I chose C, and because that would be the most appropriate thing, and see if that worked. You could not impact potentially the critical path. And B essentially would be the next step, where even after redistribution, if it's still hitting the critical path, then it's potential delay, and you notify the sponsor.
All right, good point. So Mohan, if you recall, we talked about resource leveling and resource smoothing. So actually this concept is being discussed here. So leveling is when you distribute your workload without, or when you redistribute your workload, and it ultimately results into extension of critical path, right? And smoothing is when you do not extend the critical path. In the question, there is no indication that you have to be within the critical path. If question says that there is no room for extension, then definitely C is the right option. Then you won't be going with option B. But question doesn't talk about critical path or project duration or anything or any such constraints. When there is no such constraint mentioned in the statement, we will be going with resource leveling. And that's what's happening here. Adjust the project schedule. Whatever work you wrongly planned on holidays, you will move that work to the working days, and ultimately there would be an extension in this project schedule, and you will be notifying project sponsor. Mohan, is it clear? You understand?
Yes, thank you.
Correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. Right, next question. All right, Kokila, you have chosen option B. You're on mute.
I thought I just took it off. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. So the first one is appreciate team's achievement. It has nothing to do with the question. So I eliminated that. The C is create team charter. It's clearly an agile thing, so we don't need a team charter. So I eliminated that. Appoint a team leader. It's a self-organizing team, so we don't need that. So because they are all in maybe different countries or whatever, it's impacting their schedule, it's better to develop a meeting schedule appropriately so we can have
What did you say
everybody's
about option C, create a team charter?
because it's sprint and agile project, we don't need that.
Oh, so you're saying we don't need a team charter in Agile.
I've not seen a team charter in agile.
All right, thank you. Okay, Daniela, you have chosen option B.
Yes, by elimination, it seemed the only logical. A, it's obvious, it's not, obviously. Create a team chart. I thought that was part of the initialization of the project. It doesn't matter if it's agile or waterfall. And the same with team leader. Yeah, I'm not so sure if you need a team leader, but the team chart would have that detail. So A, C, and D are off. So yeah, the logical step would be to develop meeting schedule.
All right, thank you. Priya, you have chosen option B. Could you please explain why?
Yes, obviously, I like the previous person said, creating a team charter could be done in an agile team, especially if this could be a hybrid project where some part of the project is being handled agile. So I read into it that way. So creating a team charter is not a bad idea, but it would be much more in the initiation phase. Appointing a team leader is not going to really solve the problem because you do have a scrum master and they're not able to somehow get the team to coordinate the team to meet at a certain place and time. But the basic idea of agile teams is to have those stand-up meetings. It's critical. So developing a meeting schedule is the first step, and they'll have to definitely do it. Appreciating teams' achievements, yes, that would help be motivating the team, but I don't know if they're at that stage yet. So B seemed to be the best option.
Don't you think that you would appreciate and then they will be doing more good things?
Yeah, we try, but it doesn't work.
Okay. But so it means you're saying you as a project manager, you would be developing meeting schedule, right?
Yes, with input from the team, of course.
With input from the team.
Yeah.
But statement doesn't say anything about that. It says, what should the project manager do? Develop meeting schedule.
Right. I know, but I'm assuming that you can be a.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Okay, develop meeting schedule. Right, so some of you have chosen different options, C, D as well. Okay, let me explain it. So what's happening here? This is a question about self-organization. So this is impacting team communication and product visibility. You value a self-organizing team and believe team should come up with the situation. So when as a product manager, you believe in self-organization and it's clearly written, you believe team should come up with the solution. So the right option is option C. Team should create a team charter. Team charter contains values, norms, behavior, and most importantly, decision-making method, how team members would be making decision. The problem here is that they're not agreeing on a schedule or they're not able to meet on daily stand-up meetings due to conflicting schedule. But you as a project manager believe that team should come up with the solution. So team should develop team charter, right? So team charter contains all the values and norms and behavior. Developing meeting schedule, right? This is against self-organization. Project manager, they do not involve in developing meeting schedules, right? So if team is self-organized, they decide themselves what's the schedule, when they would be meeting, when they are comfortable in meeting. And in most of the self-organizing teams, leaders just act as servant leader and they intervene whenever team is in trouble, whenever team is not able to solve a problem, right? So correct answer is option C. Let's read the explanation. All right, that's all. We are done. Thank you so much. So this topic is relevant to managing project issues. So you'll see a lot of question in the exam regarding issues. Very small statement, precise statement, but very confusing as well. So please pay attention, solve mock exam. That way you would be able to answer questions in the exam. Right, so what's your score today? You can write in chat window. I just want to see what's your performance. 5, 6, 5, 3, 6, 80%. Okay, great. All right, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow with an interesting lesson. Take good care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.